Welcome to my video on how to build a train system in Build a Boat of Treasure. This isn't too complicated of a build, but you will need a lot of different types of blocks such as cameras, hinges and wheels. So to begin with, you will need a lot of dome cameras, at least 4 per cart I think, a driver's seat, a lot of blocks of your choice for the railway track, at least 4 rolled wheels per cart, 4 hinges per cart to go with the dome cameras, and also if you're going to couple them together, you will need 2 hinges for that. You will also need a screwdriver to unanchor, a scale tool for scaling the track, and a trowel tool to clone and move around and rotate the track. So to begin with, we're going to need to build our cart. But if we're going to build our cart, we need a gauge for our track. So build the block of your choice, set scale to 1, and then just scale it inwards. I'm going to build a gauge of 2 blocks wide, and make sure that when you're doing this, you set merging level to red, just so it does not merge together. So you take your block, scale it inwards, take 2 other blocks here, and then your other block here, and scale that inwards. Then you delete the 2 blocks in the middle, like so. Now just extend the track forwards. I'd like to set my scale to 2 for this. Doesn't have to be that long if we are just creating the cart. Now, once you've got your track, like so, we now need the wheels. These wheels to be stacked up, like so, above the track. And if it's touching, then just build another wheel upwards, like so. I'm going to disconnect it from this seat over here and just place a lever for everything to automatically connect up to until I'm ready to finish off everything. On the back of this wheel, you'll want another wheel, and just make sure that they do actually align with the track, which it appears they do. Once you've got that, take whatever block you want to and build it multiple parts forwards. It is also recommended with the old wheels that you scale them in by 0.2, just so that they're not rubbing up against the wheels and stopping them from moving whenever you load your contraption in. Once you have a contraption that looks a bit like this, you may realise that if we do build a corner, it will just fall straight off because there's no thing to hold it onto the side of the track. So what we want to do is we want to grab whatever block of your choice, place it, scale it downwards, and make sure that it is scaled just a bit so that it's on level with the bottom of the wheels. Bit like so. I'm using 0.2 scale to do this. Now extend it outwards, and then you want a hinge with a camera attached to it. Now that is too close to the track, so what I'm going to do is set move to 0.5, place a hinge here, and then I'm going to grab my dome camera. This is because they are nice and round. Turn it upside down and place it like so. You'll notice that it's barely off the edge of the track. If you want to, you can double it up to increase reliability, which is what I am going to do. Using my trowel tool, I'm going to move this over, clone it, and put it like so. And that does help improve reliability. Now the next thing you can do, if you're using trowel tool, it makes it nice and easy because you can clone it over with the clone feature. And then once you cloned it, simply rotate it 180 degrees, like so. And then you want to just make sure that it's not going to be too close or too far from the track. I'm just going to set my move to 0.2 here, and it should look like this. At this point, you want to save your contraption. I'm going to save it under this save. And then you want to unanchor your build, then activate this temporary lever. It's going to be very fast, so you might want to load it in again. And then, once you've loaded it in again, you then turn the wheel speed down to 10 or 20. Also, another thing is, you might want to disable your cameras from your lever so that they don't actually turn on automatically whenever you turn your lever on. Now, unanchor again after saving it. And then if you activate it, you see it goes nice to the end of the track. If you reverse spin, it goes to the other end nice and smoothly. Just make sure that your cameras do not push your cart off the floor, because if they do that, then it cannot move. Now for the next part, track building. This is where the trowel tool is most useful. You can select your track like so, set your scale to 1 just to scale it in, and expand it a little bit. And this will create a nice short straight section, which if we want to create a corner piece, we then clone it forwards. We then rotate it by 15 degrees, and then we can move it. And then if we grab out our scale tool, set scale to 0.5 for example, we can scale the pieces together like so. And then you have a nice tilt. We can then repeat this process and create a pretty good corner. I'm just going to demonstrate this without cutting the video. So just make sure that every time you clone it, you move it correctly into place, and then scale off the parts so that they meet nice and proper. This doesn't have to be perfectly accurate on the inside of the track, as the cameras will not be moving on the inside of the track in this design. Once you've created your corner, to exit the corner, simply just extend the end piece of track. Once you've done that, you then save, and then you can unanchor your cart. I completely forgot to turn it down, and then just see, I forgot to reverse rotation, and this is one of the reasons why you save. You can then easily load it back in, slow it down, reverse spin, anchor, turn off anchor, and then watch it go across. And it works nice and smoothly. Now say we want a cross section of track. I did find this rather unusual to design, but basically grab your 2 short pieces here, and then clone them forwards, and make sure your move is set to 1 just for more accurate. Rotate it so that the pieces of track can be 90 degrees from each other. Scale it a bit like so, and then you know how to cross your tracks over. And then what you probably need to do next is just clone it like so, and then you want to rotate this so that the track looks like that. Now move this all into correct position, And then once you have this, you might realise that if the cameras on the outside were to continue along this path, they would immediately crash into these pieces. So you then need to scale them back just enough for a camera to not collide. Which can be different depending on where your cameras are placed on your cart, but is generally about one stud backwards or one in the scale thing. So like so. And if you find any roughness where it wouldn't pass through, just make sure you can pass through and just scale it back. Like so. And make sure at this point that the tracks align with each other, in which they do not currently for me. So I'm just going to extend this track out and then scale this track across and then scale this track also across, and then I'm just going to bring this track back, and to make sure it's the same length, just going to scale it over and do something like that. Alright, once your two tracks are definitely aligned and in the correct place, make sure the same is for the other two tracks, which it currently, for me, is not. Please note that if you do this by hand, you might not have to remove the tracks. It's only when cloning. Once you've done this, just make sure that your cameras can still pass through, in which in this part they cannot. So just make sure that the cameras can pass through, because if the cameras can't pass through, then the train can't pass through. Now you might have spotted a glaring issue with this. If the train goes along, then the wheels will fall into this area and just completely fall off the track. So what we now need to do is create a square in the middle that the main wheels here will be able to run across. And once you've got this main square in, you can actually check with the camera whether they're going to be able to pass through. So like so, and like so, and if they're not able to pass through, make sure once again you do scale your track back. Please also note that when the wheels pass over the gaps designed for the camera, it might jump up a little bit, but that's just the Roblox physics engine being a bit quirky. Right, so now I have all of these grooves to a good place. I'm now going to save once again. And then I'm going to extend this part outwards a bit, just so the train has a bit of running track once it gets off. Make sure your speed is at a sensible speed and the direction is completely correct, and that it's not hooked up into any unnecessary parts. Now just check that it does move along, in which I appear to have left far too small of a gap on this side for this camera to get past, which when I reload I will then scale backwards to make sure the camera can pass through it. But not as drastically as 0.5, I'm going to type in the custom value of 0.25, which is half of 0.5. I'm then going to scale both sides back. Chances are these sides will also need scaling back as well. I'm just going to quickly turn down my speed so I don't have to do it every time I reload. Then extend your track out. Save it again once corrections have been made. So it should look a bit like this. Anchor off, the cart drops down. and make sure it is going in the correct direction, which I keep forgetting. Then once it passes over, it should do it nice and smoothly. Now just another thing to note, I have not figured out how to make points and switches without it being really buggy, but in future, if I do find a proper way, or if someone in the comments finds a proper way, I might potentially make a follow-up video. Okay, so now you say that you have a cart, and it runs around your nicely made track, but you want another cart. So what you can do is you can select the cart, and either rebuild it, or just use the trowel tool, and create a new one. You then want to find the middle of the cart, and have move on like something sensible like 1 or 0.5. Place a hinge here and here, or you can have it further out. You then want to drag blocks across the hinges on scale like 0.5 or something. Then scale it just so that what's necessary is there. Then if you have some nice decoration on top, you want to turn collision off on this system. Make sure all your wheels are hooked up into the lever, and that all of your rotations and other things are set correctly. And then, when it goes around a corner, both of these hinges will flex and allow the carts to move separately. So once you've saved, you can unanchor and just test your mechanism like so. And make sure that you do actually save so that you can recover this if something goes wrong. Now, another neat trick is that if you're building a steam engine, like this one, and you want steam effects that aren't going to disappear over time, like on this train, you can use, surprisingly, a candle block, which unfortunately is only available during Halloween events, and I cannot find in my inventory, but I will look for it. Alright, here. So the candle block produces little particles, as you can see. If you stick it on your train, you can get nice smoke particles. And when you move, it will just puff like so. Another thing to note is if you want to add a front system to your cart or train, the way that I've done it is, if I turn transparency off, I have wheels here with things on the outside as opposed to the inside, and I've got this hinge going off of the front, which turns this system like so. And that basically just allows it to turn nice and freely on the corners. You can just see the system in action. Overall, this system is nice and simple, and if you want to build it, it can be quite easy to impress your friends with this, as I found, because not everyone expects, in a game about building boats and gaining treasure, for somebody to have a working railway system just running around on your plot. As I will state again, I have not figured out how to make points and switches, so if you want that, just try to let me know, because last time I tried, it was really buggy and just completely broke. Anyways, that was my train tutorial in Build a Boat for Treasure. If you liked the video, please leave a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe, because I have lots of tutorials, some on doors, some on how to get gold, and I will be doing one in future on how to build a roller coaster system. So stay tuned, and goodbye.